Welcome to Reliability Matters, a podcast for the electronic assembly industry. Each episode covers topics related to reliability, best practices, and environmentally responsible assembly techniques, with insights from experts across the electronic assembly industry. Now, here's your host, Mike Conrad.
Welcome to this special episode of the Reliability Matters podcast. On this episode, I'll have no guests, as this is the final episode of the Reliability Matters podcast for the 2023 season. Instead, let's review what happened on the podcast this year. We began the 2023 season of the podcast on episode number 111, speaking about the fascinating field of incorporating liquid metal into electronic circuits. I spoke with Dr. Michael Dickey, professor in the Department of Chemical and Biomolecular Engineering at North Carolina State University. On this episode, he demonstrated the ability to instantly turn liquid metal into a solid material and its novel uses in electronic assemblies. On episode 112, I spoke with ESD expert Christopher Alamaris about ESD mitigation best practices. Dr. Isle Weiss joined me on episode 113 to discuss a novel approach to counterfeit component detection. On episode 114, I spoke with cleaning expert Sal Sparacino and failure analysis expert Eric Camden about the remarkable return of cleaning as a mainstream process within the electronic assembly space. Episode 115 was recorded live at the IPC Apex Expo in San Diego, California, and featured a conversation with Louisa Herman on the subject of how to make sense of big data. Also recorded at the IPC Apex Expo was episode 116. The topic was supply chain challenges when I spoke with Mark Goodwin. Also recorded at the IPC Apex Expo was episode 117. I spoke with, once again, Eric Camden about what happens when residues cause circuit assemblies to fail. We talked more about big data and how to make it useful and actionable on episode 118 with Ryan Gamble. We recorded a special episode live at the SMTA Pan-Pacific Strategic Electronics Symposium in Hawaii, where I interviewed David Raby about his experience as a high-reliability contract manufacturer. On episode 119, we had a fascinating conversation about quantum mechanics with Dartmouth professor Dr. James Whitfield. How do you make reliability training both effective and entertaining? My guest, Michelle Leday Henley, explained how on episode 120. On episode 121, Dr. John Mitchell, president and CEO of IPC, talked about his new book, Fire Your Hiring Habits. On episode 122, we covered the integration of artificial intelligence into inspection systems with Arif Virani and Bart Prefavor. On episode 123, we featured a conversation with Dr. Christopher Jackson. Dr. Jackson provided an introduction to HALT, highly accelerated life testing. Episode 124 featured a little less technical but very inspiring conversation with industry icon Dave Hillman about his amazing 3,600-mile solo kayak journey down the entire length of the Missouri River. We talked about design for manufacturing, or DFM, best practices with Andrew Williams on episode 125. Episode 126 reviewed moisture mitigation best practices with Dan Jenkins and Rob Lowry. Episode 127 was our annual Ask the Experts episode, where I spoke with industry consultants Phil Zaro and Jim Hall about life as a technical consultant and their new book, Troubleshooting Electronic Assemblies: Tales from the Board Talk Crypt. We explained how industrial standards are derived with Leo Lambert on episode 128. Episode 129 featured a conversation with Adrian Francos about network reliability and how to avoid cybersecurity threats. I spoke with Dr. Alexis Abramson, Dean of the Thayer School of Engineering at Dartmouth College, about their innovative approaches to education and innovation on episode 130. Episode 131 featured a conversation with industry icon Bob Willis about his retirement and his generous donation of training videos to the SMTA. I had a conversation about ultra-thin conformal coating materials with Lisa Rizzo on episode 132. And just 2 weeks ago, On episode 133, I had a fascinating conversation with Dr. Don Stevenson and Dr. Jonathan Tapson about a novel wireless wearable ESD monitoring device. And that brings us to today, episode 134. I must admit, when I decided to produce a podcast a few years ago on the subject of reliability of circuit assemblies, I expected to produce maybe 10 episodes. After all, how much conversation can one have about the reliability of circuit assemblies? From a 30,000-foot press box view, it seemed like a very limited topic. Time has demonstrated, however, that we cannot talk enough about the reliability of circuit assemblies. The fact is, between miniaturization, IoT, and the rapid emergence of EV technology and technology in automobiles in general, electronics are increasingly being placed into applications and environments never before dreamed of. This, of course, challenges our engineering capabilities. Reliability is way more than just a goal. It is an absolute requirement. We've talked on this show about the silver tsunami or the great retirement. As baby boomers approach retirement, they do so in historic numbers. Government data indicates that between now and 2030, 10,000 people a day will retire. As experienced engineers leave our industry for the sunny beaches of Florida or the warm winters of Arizona or wherever they choose to retire, we see new and considerably younger engineers entering our industry workforce. One of my motivations for starting this podcast was to create a knowledge vault accessible to all in a commercial-free environment. We neither recommend nor sell products. We don't have any sponsors, which may otherwise influence or taint our topics. What do we have? We have you, and I thank all of you for your support and encouragement over the last few years. So many of you have approached me at technical conferences and trade shows telling me how much you enjoy the show. Many of you even share your favorite episodes with me. I'm extremely grateful for the subject matter experts who came onto the show to share their experiences and expertise for the current and next generation of engineers and technicians within the EMS industry. Without these subject matter expert guests, I would just be a talking head, and Lord knows there are too many of those these days. Thanks also to all of the subscribers of this podcast. If you're not yet a subscriber, be sure to subscribe on your favorite podcast app. Or if you're watching this on the Reliability Matters YouTube channel, be sure and click the like, subscribe, and bell icons to be notified when new episodes are released. We release new episodes on the second and fourth Tuesday of every month. And a huge shout out and thank you to Mike Butow of Circuit Assembly Magazine's PCB Chat at PCBchat.com and Fred Schenkelberg of Accendo Reliability at Reliability.fm for syndicating the show and expanding its reach. We are already recording shows for the 2024 season, and I'm super excited to share those episodes with you. Thanks also for your questions and episode suggestions. Please keep them coming. Send comments or episode suggestions to Mike at MikeConrad.com. Just remember, that's Conrad spelled with a K. Once again, thanks for listening to or watching the Reliability Matters podcast. I wish you and your families the most joyous holiday season and a healthy and prosperous new year. Until next time, stay safe, stay healthy, stay happy, and perhaps most importantly, keep doing it right. And I'll see you again in 2 weeks.
Thanks for listening to the Reliability Matters podcast. Join us on the second and fourth Tuesday of each month for new episodes of Reliability Matters.